This is the Rise to Triumph podcast, and my name is Crystal Torres. I am on a mission to discover the key components of success of today's top TV and film industry professionals. If you are interested in becoming a working TV film professional or intrigued by the journey and are looking to surround yourself with the best industry minds, then this, my friends, is for you. Each week, we will have a chance to listen in on conversations that I have with top industry professionals and explore the behind the scenes of what it truly takes to rise to triumph. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Rise to Triumph podcast. My name is Crystal Torres. So I hope you guys are having a beautiful week, and I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. I need you guys to hit me up. I mean, it's crazy. I feel like people are downloading, and I'm really excited. So let's talk and let's have a conversation. If you missed the last episode, we spoke to Yvonne Sonat Jones, and Yvonne Sonat Jones dropped some knowledge on us about getting them first credentials, them first TV credentials that sometimes, it's like a taboo where it's like you're trying to get yourself validated, but then people are like, you need experience to get validated. So you're trying to figure out how to do that. And she breaks it down on her experience and her journey to get to where she is now. This week and for the next few episodes, we're going to switch it up. We're going to, I know we've been focusing a lot on actors, but this is not just an actor podcast. This is a film and television industry podcast, and we are here to break down all sides of television and film. I want to break down and understand all different aspects, all different departments, because it takes a village to make a show, to make a film. It's not just one-sided, and a lot of times I feel like everyone kind of sticks in their lanes, does their part, and then it kind of just all magically comes together. So I want to really understand and break down what are the important elements to who does what. So I wanted to start this next series with Terri, the Terrian Officer McIntosh. She graduated from the USC Film School a year ago, 2016, and she has already worked on some of the biggest blockbuster films of the last year. When I say that, I mean Spiderman Homecoming, and also the film that everyone can't wait to see, Black Panther. Yeah, so she breaks it down how she was able to just jump right out of USC Film School and just get the right mentors and connect with the right people that then was able to connect her to some of these huge projects. Gives it to us super real and super inspiring, and I can't say enough how excited I am for you guys to listen to Terri in this. She is not a name that you probably recognize now, but I promise you she is someone that you want to know. She's very talented, and she is definitely extremely driven and going places. So thank you so much, Terri, and I hope you guys enjoy. Bye. So I want to get into graduating and, the transition of being in that bubble of you were at the University of Southern California Film School. Mm-hmm. What was your major, and what did you study while you were there?
So I was a film production major at USC School of Cinematic Arts. I focused more on cinematography and documentary filmmaking. So that's kind of been what I've been pursuing since graduating.
That's awesome. Now, did you start at USC or did you transfer?
I'm actually transfer. So I was, I did my last 2 years I've moved around a lot, but I did my last 2 years of high school in Florida.
Why did you move around a lot?
Oh gosh, everyone's like, oh, are you military? But the answer is no. I went to, I think, 4 elementary schools, 3 middle schools, and 5 high schools. So,
wow. Oh my God.
Yes. So yeah, it's and I don't. Everyone's like, oh, why'd you move so much? And I kid you not, I would come home and my mom would be like, we're moving, and I'm like, all right. again. So I in between my mom and my grandparents. I've kind of just been all over the Midwest, the South. Now I'm on the West Coast, but I finished high school in Florida, did my last 2 years there, and then I got into the University of Florida. I was there for 2 years, and then I was always planning to move to LA. I didn't really talk a whole lot about it because I didn't want to deal with people trying to talk me out of it.
Yeah.
Withdrawing from UF, didn't tell anybody. Bought a
Really? So what year were you when you withdrew?
I was at the end of my sophomore year, and
Wow. Okay.
I bought a plane ticket to LA.
Now, hold on. Back up. What did you study while you were at UF? Was it also in film?
Kinda. I was all over the place. Okay, well, I came in and I was like, okay, I'm going to be practical. I'm going to have like a real job and like pursue film. So I was a nursing major.
Yeah, quote unquote real job. Sure. Yeah.
I was a nursing major for 2 days, and then I was like, nope. And I was a philosophy major and anthropology major. I was I was double major in like telecommunications and production. So I didn't really have a concrete major while I was there. I was literally everywhere.
Wow. But you know what? That's awesome, because that shows, and that other people that are like trying to figure it out, like, it's okay to jump around, you know? It's okay to like test the waters, even if it is for 2 days in a nursing school.
Well, I always knew I wanted to do film, but I was just trying to, because I knew I was going to transfer. If I went to USC, I would have to just take all of their film production classes over. So I'm like, if I'm going to transfer anyway, I might as well use this time to just learn different stuff. You know, I wanted to learn about philosophy and anthropology, and, you know, I took Italian. And so I just did whatever I could to make myself not only a stronger candidate for transferring, to show that I had life experience and had multiple interests, but I also wanted to be a better person. I wanted to, you know more about a broad range of subjects and kind of get out of my comfort zone. So
I love that
too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then afterwards, so you already had that game plan that you were going to go to UF, University of Florida, and then just try a bunch of things. But your ultimate goal was always to go to film school to USC?
Yes. So I applied to USC in high school, and I actually didn't get in, and I was devastated. I was so crushed. And I went to my film teacher in high school, and I'm crying, and I'm so sad. And he's like, I was so crushed. And pretty much he told me that if I wanted to be a filmmaker, I didn't need any specific school. I just needed the drive and the ambition and kind of the willpower to just pretty much keep going. I was stubborn. I wanted to go to USC, so I was like, I'm going to go to UF. I'm going to kill it. I'm going to transfer. But so I withdrew from UF, bought a plane ticket, put it down in the apartment. I moved to LA before I knew if I got into USC.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
I kind of had no school to go to, and I'd been in LA for maybe 3 weeks, and I was like, I done fucked up. Like, I haven't got any letters. I don't know if I'm going to USC. I don't know what's going on. And like,
oh my God. And then what was your family saying? Like, did you tell anyone? You were like, oh, I'm just visiting. Like, what did you say?
So the conversation with my granddad.
Oh yeah.
I called and was like, cause I had gone to LA, I think the year before, just to visit before I solidified it.
Yeah.
And, the next year I called and I was like, I'm going to LA, and he's like, didn't you already go there for spring break? I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, no, I live there. Like, I don't live here anymore. I don't have my apartment here anymore. I don't go to school here anymore. And they're like, what are you doing? You left your scholarship for what? Like, to be a filmmaker? And I'm like, actually, yes.
Yeah. So you had did you have a full ride at UF?
Pretty close to it. I took out a few loans just to help out with just rent. I was working. Actually, at one point there, I had 3 jobs, but I was spending a lot of it trying to like make little student film cameras and things like that. So I took out a few loans to kind of help cover my rent while I was out here trying to play filmmaker, but for the most part, they covered it.
Wow, that's awesome. So, okay, so then before we get into so then your transition, you're like waiting. You haven't had any letters. You don't know anything yet, and then you how did you? What was the I guess process when you did find out?
Oh gosh. So before I moved here, I ended up getting into the Disney college program. And I was like, okay, I'll work. And it was 40 hours a week. And I was like, all right, I'll do that.
And
And so
what's the Disney college program?
like basically you work at the park in like food or on one of the rides at Disneyland. And you have little seminars and get together and they call it like an enrichment program for young adults or whatever. But it's really so, oh God, I hope they don't hate me. So like, it's like really so like, Disney can get cheap labor from really like optimistic, naive young people, which is what it was. They paid me minimum wage and I had to drive 2.5 hours to get to Disneyland.
Oh my God.
And then I remember it so clearly. I was stuck in traffic on the side.
Traffic must have been horrible.
And I had to go to the bathroom and I cried the whole ride because by the time I got home 3 hours later, I had 4 hours. I had to get up and do it all again.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Doing that, and I think I did that for a month and a half or something like that. I don't remember very clearly, but I remember I was doing that. And then I got, and you can like check your application status online. I was like checking it crazily every day. And I was like, I'm not going to check it anymore, but I'll check it one more time. And I checked it and it was like accepted, like pay deposit here or something. And I freaked out. I'm crying. I'm like jumping on my cheap twin IKEA bed. And I come on. I'm like, I did it. I got it. I'm going to be a filmmaker. And that was probably one of the greatest moments in terms of like that transition because I really took a risk leaving US, not having a solid plan, not really knowing what the hell the future held. And I got in. It was definitely a major accomplishment because I worked my ass off at UF for 2 years to make that happen.
Oh my God. That's I don't even know. I mean, like, but I guess that just goes to show you, like, regardless of whatever you want to do in life, you know, it's like you kind of have to take that risk, you know? You gotta like.
It's all about the risk. I'm pretty sure at this point my life was just a bunch of risk.
Well, I think it's leading you down the right path. I think so. What happened?
I said not all of them are like great ones, and some of them I'm like, all right, I could have done without that, but you know, still alive. I haven't done anything too crazy.
Now, you talk about like envisioning and always wanting to do film. Now, where did that I guess drive for or love for film come from?
Oh gosh, you remind me I need to email my high school film teacher. So
we're gonna make a note after this.
Email Miss Harrison. So because I moved around so much, I was kind of, you know, I was in a bunch of different high schools. I had transferred to Boyd Anderson in South Florida, and I was in the IB program, which to sum it up is like AP on steroids. It was actually, you know, ridiculous. Wow. And so I had a choice between doing IB chemistry or IB film, and there was just no way in hell that I was going to do chemistry. So I signed up for IB film, and I didn't realize what it was. I was like, oh, they're going to give me a grade to watch movies. I'll like chill out and watch movies, NBD. Sure. So I get to class first day, throw my bag down, put my head down, wait for the movie to start. My film teacher, Miss Harrison, walks over, and he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, waiting for the movie. And he's like, no. He's like, get your notebook out, get your pen out, and you need to start taking notes. And I'm like, what the hell? Notes for what? It's a movie. It turns out it was really a class on like critical theory of it came together and what the art was saying and why you would make this choice over that choice and what those different implemented. And I was like, this is fucking cool. But the part was, am I allowed to curse on this podcast?
Whatever makes you comfortable.
Okay. I've got a mouth like a sailor.
That's fine.
But so at the end of the school year, and this is 11th grade year, junior year, at the end of the school year, we got to make these like little 1-minute silent films. And it was the most fun I've ever had in school. And I was like, this is how I'm feeling at this small level at 1-minute films, you know. What will it be like to one day work on like a big budget film or a commercial or bigger crews? And at this point in time, I thought I wanted to direct and write. Obviously, it's now changed, but I just had such a great time, and I felt so much peace and at home kind of in that situation. And so it just kind of grew from there. In that moment, I knew that I had to go into film. There just was no other option but to be in film.
Now, you talk about like your excitement once you did get into USC, and you said that your grandfather sounded a bit cynical, and how did your family react once you did get in?
Oh, well, once I got in, it was great because I was going to like the number one film
Yeah.
school in the country, attending class, and it was also like one of the top, I don't know, 15 schools or something. And my family's very big on academics, and like my grandfather was FBI, my grandma was a nurse, so they had very like those kind of careers, you know. So they were very excited because they're like, my granddaughter goes to
Oh.
USC, and it's like once I got in, it was like, oh my gosh, yeah, that's great. It was just the
Yeah,
before,
just like
so
the
yeah.
uncertainty. Now, what
Mhm.
because you said you were first thinking of being a writer director, so then what transitioned into your interest now, and which is what, more cinematography, more director of photography?
Cinematography and
Documentary. Okay.
documentary. Kind of where I stick to now. Yeah. And I think we were working on one of our student films, and I was supposed to be directing, and I just wouldn't stay away from the camera. Now, like, Terri, you have to go talk to the actors, and I'm like, but I want to set up the shots. And in terms of documentary, I'm really big on media for social change, using film to work in different disadvantaged or marginalized communities. So it really came down to documentary and cinematography, which is kind of still where I stay.
And what do you think, as far as, is there any like documentary or like film now that you're like, oh, if I could do something like that, that'd be like it, you know?
I've been raving about Ava DuVernay's
Yes, I still haven't watched
13.
it. Oh my god. But I've heard rave reviews.
Oh gosh, that one. And then I watched HBO did one, like Dope Sick Love, and it followed couples who were
Oh
addicted
my
to
god.
meth and heroin, and kind of what that did to their romantic relationships. And it was incredible because you saw these two people who, from what we saw as viewers, really loved each other, but they were addicted to these drugs that destroyed them, but also really negatively impacted their relationships, because the deeper they got into being involved with these drugs, the more of a backseat their relationship would take, because they were so focused on obtaining, meth and heroin. And so I really dove into addiction and how these drugs can really impact a person's life and the people in their lives. So that was one of my favorite ones as well. Great Gardens is a great one. I love that one. But I don't know. I can rant on
Well,
and on, but documentaries, can be very
yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, there's definitely, and I feel like there's so many more platforms, and like Netflix, like has so many really awesome documentaries. I think there's like HBO, of course. So
Yeah,
what
HBO. Yeah.
I want to know, like, so then what was that ride for you, like, once you got into USC?
Um, I'm just
Go
gonna say
ahead,
fuck it and just be
please.
really
That's what we
honest.
want here.
The thing about USC is it's a great school, and I think it's so many different opportunities that it offers. But I think being a student of color and kind of the obstacles that come with that, for a long time, are often overlooked by USC. So I think there were some times where that just felt really discouraging. And I think I went through a period where I really questioned why I went to film school, to the point, I wasn't really connecting with a lot of my peers. I felt like some of the struggles I faced, they just couldn't understand because they had never faced them. And so I actually left film school for a while. I went to London for 4 months and studied abroad, and I refused to take film classes. I wouldn't talk about film with any of my friends. I didn't read any film books. I'd watch a movie here and there, but I really needed to step away and figure out if I made the right decision, because I wasn't what I thought USC would be for me, what it was for me. And so I had to kind of reevaluate if I made the right decision.
What you mean by it wasn't right for you is just the fact that you didn't feel there was enough maybe diversity in the programs, or just what was it, like the interests that you were?
Mainly, the diversity was a big deal. For example, one kid, and obviously I'll never name names, but he told me I got in because affirmative action.
Oh my God.
Like that, and even if I did,
Mm-hmm.
that wouldn't be a
Mm-hmm.
problem. But it was the fact that my 3.8 GPA from UF didn't matter. The fact that I held 3 jobs while having 18 credits didn't matter. The fact that I was also a musician who was also a violin tutor, like those things didn't matter. It came down to, oh, she's black and therefore she got in because of affirmative action. It's like, like why is that the first place your mind goes when trying to understand why I'm here, And
Yeah, exactly. Like, why can't I just be just as qualified as you, regardless of the
yeah.
color of my
And so
skin?
like things like that would happen periodically, and those things, I was discouraged for a while. I didn't want to be there and I didn't want to do it, and for a little while I kind of stopped. It's like, if this is what I have to look forward to in terms of working in the industry, and obviously not like most people obviously aren't like that. I made a lot of great friends there, and so many people are so talented, but it was the fact that I became more aware of that. I was a black woman trying to get into film, and we're such a minority, people of color in general. But for example, I won a DP, and there's not a whole lot of black women who are also DPs in this industry. And that weight and that fear kind of, it really got to me, and it started to show. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm just like, I get that from, being an actor too, it's
yeah,
just like,
definitely.
even I never looked at myself like, oh, I'm a Latina woman, like, of course that's part of me, but like, coming into an industry where they look for labels, and I
Yeah,
think
definitely.
it's definitely something that, as any minority, I guess, no matter what side of the camera you're on, because I would think that maybe behind the camera, but I guess not, because, like, we're still fighting for so much more women and diversity to be behind the camera, that, because that's where it starts, right? We need to see behind the camera so that we can see in front of the camera. So.
Exactly. We get othered. We're not the norm. We're the other. And it gets exhausting. But I've I wanted to share this because it's probably the most powerful thing anyone has ever said to me. It's the reason that I'm even still in the business, because these words, because like, not, it gets tough. I know it. Sometimes it's like, am I gonna get another project? What do I do next? Or
Yes.
So anyway, I moved here and I was working on my first film set as a PA on kind of like a grad thesis, and I was so excited. And I asked this AD. I said, what advice do you have for, a new filmmaker like me just moving to LA? And he says, look, if you don't remember anything else, the one thing you got to understand is this business, this industry, this dream you're chasing, it's a game of not quitting.
Yep.
That just proves so true.
It's so true.
It's hard, it gets tough, it gets exhausting. Your relationships may sometimes, be affected, but
Yeah.
you just can't stop.
Yeah.
You really just cannot stop. And I work with kids in different situations, and I have in the past, right now, hope to in the future. And I always tell them, like, no matter what, just don't stop. No matter what it is you're doing or you're pursuing, just don't stop.
That's so true. I've seen so many people, in at least, that have lasted in this industry, and it's maybe not because they're the most talented or most beautiful or whatever, but it's really because they just don't give up. They don't take no for an answer, and even if it means like some days feel slower than others, and I think that that's ultimately it, right? You just don't quit. Don't quit. So now, so having those challenges at USC, you said one of the ways you cope with it was while you were at USC, you did study abroad.
Yeah, I did study abroad, and for the first month or something, I didn't really miss film school. I was kicking it. I was fine. I was overseas, and it was first my college career that I didn't have a job. I've been working since I was 14 nonstop, and I didn't have a job. And I was like, whoa, I can do things college students do. And so, yeah, it was great. But it also really helped me realize that, after a month or so, I started to miss it a bit. And by the end of it, I decided and really, knew that there was nothing and there was no one that was going to keep me from achieving whatever goal in film that I had, you know? I had to stop looking, and not in a negative way, but I had to stop
Yeah.
looking to my peers to validate me, you know? And so once I realized that
Yes.
only
That's
I could
huge.
validate me, and the only person I had to be better than was the me I was yesterday. Every day was an opportunity to learn something or do something different. And, you know, you falter, and it doesn't always go to plan, and sometimes it's like, why the hell did I do that? But I can say that the person I was 2 months
Yeah.
ago is not who I am today, and I'm more proud of who I am right now. So, yeah.
That's beautiful. Where do you think you've gotten that kind of, I mean, because you're young and you just graduated. I feel like you have such a strong sense of who you are, and you also seem very balanced, like I think that's very mature of you to already feel like, you know what, I just need to be better than what I was yesterday,
Mm.
and I feel like, and the whole thing about validating, it's especially in this industry where no one, you can do amazing work and still no one will say anything like that you did a good job, so
I
where do you
think I
think that
kind of
stemmed
figured
from
out
for
at a
you?
young age that I had to be responsible for me. I didn't have the easiest upbringing. It was very chaotic. You know, things would change at the drop of a dime. Um, my mom suffered from bipolar
Hmm.
disorder, so she could be a bit on the unpredictable side, and I didn't really have a very involved father. So while my grandparents, you know, obviously did the best they
Hmm.
could in helping me through those situations, I also didn't really tell them a whole lot about it, and because I never wanted to like isolate my mom from the family, and so I wouldn't always share kind of the actual circumstances at home.
Yeah.
And so I figured out that if I wanted a life
Yeah.
different than my mom had and want to avoid some of the mistakes that she had, I couldn't become a victim of my situation. I had to really, you know, try to overcome it and be responsible for myself. So, no one, you know, I did all my own college applications and I figured out FAFSA by myself and I took a Greyhound with all my stuff to school and, you know, I went and got myself a job to figure it out because sure,
Yeah.
I could say, well, I had a hard childhood and because of that, I didn't do this. And it would be valid because sometimes, you know, things that happen to us in our past, they really do or can, you know, affect how we go about our futures. But I made the decision that I didn't want cycles to repeat themselves. And so I had to be responsible for myself. And in doing that, I learned a lot of hard lessons. When I was a kid, I used logic like a kid. And, you know, when I was angry, I was hurting, I lashed out. But you learn from it. And so I think I'm at a point now where I'm obviously still making mistakes, but I'm able to be, you know, more self-aware and reflect on what I did and why I did it and ask myself, you know, is this the path you want to go down? Is this the person you want to be? And if you do this, are you being someone that you're eventually going to be proud of? Or are you making the same mistakes that you've seen repeated and, you know, done in the past? So I think it's just, you know, grabbing my circumstances by the balls and not letting it control me.
You're so awesome. I just love that. And I think it just goes to show anyone that, like, whether if it's, um, wants to do it, go to film school or anything, I think that it just goes to show you that, like, you choose what you want to do with your life, Don't allow the circumstances to dictate you. And I think you're an
Thank you.
amazing
Also,
example of
you know, I
that,
really agree to that. Like, I would not say I'm like your average film student. I cannot name you every classic ever made and who directed it and and, and all that. And, you know, I didn't grow up wanting to be a film person and I didn't sit child and like edit, you know, old VCRs and everything. But once I figured out what I loved, and despite the fact that maybe I didn't come from like anyone's typical background, it just kind of goes to show that if you want it and you're dedicated to it, you just, you know, not to quote Nike, but you know, just do it. And that's really what it comes down to. You know, it's all about action. You know, even small steps and baby steps. If you're on the direction, you know, that you want to be on, you know, even baby steps are steps. We don't have to go at anyone else's pace. We don't have to, follow the trajectory that anyone else has set out, for us or anything. So
that's so true. Now, so then you came back from London, and then you were like, all right, I'm back in it. I got this, let's do this film school. Let's complete this. What was that, like, what, your second to last semester?
Gosh, it all blurs together. I think I did London.
You just graduated. How does it all blur together?
Let's see. So I got back from London, I guess 2 years ago now. And I started diving more into documentary. And so I made this little short doc about this teacher who had dedicated his life to teaching music to special needs kids. And the kind of the dilemma there was he was graduating and the principal wanted to take away that music program. And so it was about, what the music gave to the kids, and even the kids spoke about it. And, they were so heartbroken because they just wanted their music, and they were tired of people dictating their lives and telling them what was good for them and, not good for them. So I did that, and that kind of really,
That sounds awesome. How did that come out?
I'm still very proud of it. Like a few years later, I'm like, yes, that is a great one. I still watch it and I get teary-eyed, and I made it. So not to like.
I want to see that.
Definitely
you have to send it to me.
But I think it was more so because I was looking at kind of how art impacts certain groups, and and the kids were so raw and so honest and just unfiltered. And so not even really the work that I did, but more so letting those kids' voices be heard when they're not often heard. That was important to me. Yeah. What was the question?
Oh, I don't know. We're just talking. No, yeah, I was just like, so then you went. What was after?
I got more and then I started looking into Native American rights. Treaty rights have been thrown out the window, and how we so poorly represent Natives in film and media. And one of the big ones I was looking at was what was that one with Johnny Depp and he was playing Tonto? It had Armie Hammer in it. I'm blanking, but anyway,
I know. I was like gonna look it up.
Big budget Hollywood film, and Johnny Depp, a white dude, was playing a Native American, and it's like, come on, like there's so many Native actors and actresses. Why are we not like? Why are we taking the few roles written specifically for Natives away from Natives? So I was looking into that.
Yeah.
And then I started watching some TED Talks, and this is like leading somewhere, I promise. But watching TED Talks, and there was one on Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and it was this guy, a white male, and he was just talking about, oh, the natives are so sad, and they're drunk, and they need us, and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, I don't like this whole poverty porn thing. Like, even if groups have been oppressed and are suffering as a result of, like, white supremacy and systematic oppression, there's always someone in their community working to make it better, This narrative of that people can't survive unless, like, a white guy swoops in and, like, picks them up off the ground is, like, ridiculous. And so I watched that TED Talk, and I'm like, this is insulting to Native, Like, there's, like, this whole, like, sad, drunk Native stereotype is, like, infuriating. And so in like the craziest whim of things I could ever do, I was like, I'm going to Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and I'm going I want to hear what the kids have to say about their situations or about anything, I'm tired us putting out these stories about certain people, whether it's Black people, Latino people, Native people, not told by the people who live it every day. So,
I love that. Yeah.
I organized, along with the help of Nikki and Caitlin and a friend named Emily, organized a summer camp in South Dakota called Outlast Filmmaking Camp, where it was basically, we teach the foundations of documentary filmmaking. So like, what is cinematography? What is editing? What is sound? What is, documentary writing and like treatments and all that. And then we let the kids decide what type of film they wanted to make. So we had one group do one on the skate park there that was kind of built to give kids something to do and not have to turn to drugs and alcohol. We did another one on the Boys and Girls Club there my group did what does friendship mean to them, and they did a whole doc about what friendship means. And so it was great because not the stories weren't necessarily sad, or we didn't force any narrative on them. We just essentially gave them cameras and computers and asked, like, what do you want to talk about? And like that's probably the most important thing I've ever done, because it was an opportunity to really use media for social change. But it wasn't me saying, like, I'm going to come in here and tell your story. It was like, I know you have voices. There's people who care about you, who want to hear your voice. So, like, let's do it. Like, what do you have to say? So, yeah, and that's what I did since then. And we did that in 2015. We organized another camp in 2016, like the kind of same idea. And, like, we had a bunch of films completed successfully there too. And then we're doing it again next year. So
that's beautiful. And do you feel like you're seeing progression as you go, like from the first year to the second year, or how do you?
Kinda. I'm not really sure how to measure it, because we didn't necessarily have the same kids in each camp.
Oh, okay.
But we keep in contact, on Facebook with the kids, and we go back and see them. And granted, not all of them, like, even if you're not, like, if they aren't interested in film, we still like to keep in touch. And, like, because, like, the big thing is, it's not just about the film, it's about the relationships and making sure that they know that off the reservation and, all over, there's people who really care about them. And, like, we're not all just believing this crazy narrative about drunk natives,
Yeah.
So it's really about that.
And I think also, like, how cool is it for you to come in and then, like, show or expose them to something that maybe they never thought could be a career opportunity for them, or like something that they can possibly go to school and study for, like, I think, like, film sometimes, like you said earlier, is just not considered, like, realistic, as, like, as a career thing. Huh?
And that's how I was like, oh, film.
Yeah, so it's like, it's cool that you can come in as, like, how old are these kids?
We had kids ranging from like 7 to 19.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just like the young ones, and even the older ones. Like, that's just awesome to, like, feel like you can, like, reach out to them.
Oh, I love it. I love going to the reservation. I love seeing the kids. I love volunteering. I love playing with them. Like, they used to, like, beat me in basketball so bad. It's just like a great, because I don't know, like, what some of the kids have to go through is pretty unimaginable for a lot of us who've never, had to live in those situations. But they're always so open and so giving, and they just want to share their history and learn your history. And it's just, it's a wonderful place to be, and it's such wonderful young people to get to know. And so it's crazy because, like, had it not been for film, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to connect with these young people, So it's, like, crazy how much my little dream has given me and allowed me to give back, which I think is pretty much the most important part. I feel like if I can't use film to give back to different communities, then I need to find a different career.
Yeah.
So it's, it's really about giving back when possible.
That's beautiful. Now, I guess upon graduating, what was that transition like? Okay, so you graduated, and I mean, even though you went to you said USC Film School is, like, number one, or one of the top film schools. Like, how is that, like, when you're about to graduate and then now you have to figure out now what? Like, how do I make money off of this?
I lucked out. So my last semester of film school, I reached out to a DP, Sal Totino. Phenomenal DP, phenomenal person. And I asked him to meet me for coffee. I liked his work. I saw one of his recent films, and I just wanted to talk to him, get career advice.
Yeah.
So we ended up meeting for coffee.
Now,
really hit
did
it
you know him, or how did you, like, get his contact information?
I looked him up on IMDb Pro after watching his film Concussion.
Wow.
That he shot. So I just cold emailed him, asked if he'd meet me. He said yes. We had coffee, hit it off. He dropped some, like, great life wisdom and career wisdom, and
yes,
a few weeks after that meeting, he called and asked if I wanted to work on his next film, which was he was shooting Spiderman, the new one.
Oh my God. Wow. And then you're like, holy crap.
I was like, yes, I'd love to. Like, it was completely like I never imagined that post grad, like right after, and I was a camera PA, which is so much fun. It was great, but I just never imagined that I would be working on a film of that scale right after graduation. And and I think this is important too. It wasn't because I did anything crazy or extraordinary. It's because Sal met me and he believed in me. And I think that's why it's important to, really give back and believe in other people, because we can't do it alone,
Can't.
we really can't do it alone. And so Sal, he's been an excellent mentor to me. Whatever problem I have or question I have, even if it's not film related, like, Sal will always try to help. And so I'm immensely grateful, for the guidance that he's offered me so far.
And did you just I'm just trying to understand your thought process, right? So you're watching his film and you're like, I am obsessed with this. This is exactly, I don't know, you're like, who's the person behind this? And you're just like, screw it. I'm just gonna, try to see if I could find his contact information and then just reach out to him. Were you nervous at any point? Maybe he won't even respond, or were you just kind of like, well, what do I have to lose?
A little bit of both. So prior to him, I think that last semester of film school, I probably emailed 40 people. Wow. At least.
See, so if this goes to show people, right, just because you're at a major, film school doesn't mean that you can't, that you're not gonna, you have to grind still, after graduation. Because, if you didn't do those emails and if you didn't reach out to these people, yeah, you went to USC, and of course that's, that holds weight, but you probably wouldn't be where you are right now so fast, I think. What do you think?
I 100% agree. And I'm also going to comment on USC. So I'm going to come back to
okay.
that. So I emailed probably 40 people, and total, I'd say 4 got back to me, Sal being one of them. But whenever I send an email, I read it over 100 times, and I'm so nervous because these cinematographers are celebrities to me, and I want them to reply. But at the same time, I went into it if I don't send this email, even if they don't answer, I'll never know. I'll never know. And so, so Sal answered, and then another DP, Sydney Siddell, answered. And they've both become, mentors to me, and I, visit them on set all the time. I get to talk to them. But going back to USC, I feel like there's this idea that this school, although a great school, is if you go there, then you achieve this level of prestige. And truthfully, the answer is it's not true. It doesn't matter where you go. What matters is that you get in there and you work hard. I don't care if you go to USC or you go to community college, because I went to USC, but I felt like I wasn't getting everything I needed out of this school, even though I was paying money for it. So in addition to my classes at USC, I signed up for a grip and electric class at a community college because I needed to know. So I was going to USC, but I was also taking film classes somewhere else because I wasn't getting what I needed from my university. And so no matter where you go, if it's USC or it's a community college, it's about the spirit, and it's about the hustle, and it's about the grind. So even if I never went to USC, I have no doubt that I wouldn't have made a way, because there's nothing that's going to keep me from pursuing what I feel like I've got to pursue. And so I feel like even myself, I made the mistake. I attached this huge prestige to USC, and I'm not saying it's not a great school, because it is, but it's not the end all be all, and it doesn't make me or anyone else who went there a better or worse person. And I think and so, I work with kids and I tell them you don't have to go to an Ivy League school. That's not where your value comes from. Yeah. And my value as a filmmaker doesn't come from going to USC, or as a person, it doesn't come from any institution or school or anything like that. It's about the hard work
you put into it. Yeah. Now, you are, so you finished that first project. Now, what was it like then being on set and so you were a camera PA, so that's a camera production assistant. And so what was that, basically what did you have to do, and what was that real life experience, I guess, of like being on set of this huge budget, massive film?
Well, my mentor, he moves fast. He is kind of like top-notch DP, and once you start working for him, you better learn to pick up your feet, because when they ask for something, you better, in the blink of an eye, bring it back. So it was a lot different from being on a student set, just because there's like a lot of certain rules you have to follow. Like if you're in a certain department, you do not even look at another department's equipment. Like, do not touch it if it's not your department. Even if it is your department, at certain levels, you still can't touch certain things because, union rules. But I also got to work a lot with the gaffer, and, he taught me a lot about lighting. You got to see it on site. I got to ask a bunch of questions about it. So it was working on a film set, yes, but Sal also made sure that it was a learning opportunity. He was like, I want you to walk away from this film a better DP than when you came in. So ask me anything, ask the gaffer anything, let's do lighting tests. Let's talk about lenses. So I was working, and I was working hard, easily 15-hour days more often than not. But I was also learning. So I would say I learned more in like 3.5 months
yeah, just
than I
because
did in
it's
3
like
years.
you're literally just on set. It's like that's
And I don't think I could have done a bigger film. So I learned a lot, which is great. And I'm still so green, and I'm still learning, and I still make rookie mistakes. But I try not to make the same mistake twice. And if I do, I try
fake
to
it till you
hide
make
it.
it. Like, that wasn't me. Like, so then, and now you, so then you finished that, and then what happened? Was that basically, what was?
I took a little break. I went overseas for about 4 weeks. I came back. And the thing about filmmaking and freelancing is you don't always have a job. And I didn't. And I got back from Europe, and I was broke because I spent all my money. And like there were no project happening. Film kind of slows down around the holiday season. And because I'm still so new, I don't have a big network of people yet. And so I went and worked at a clothing store for 3 days to make some extra money as a seasonal. And so, to get by until my next job came. So I worked at Cotton On for 3 days, and it was quite the switch up going from
but
film
I think that also
to clothing
goes to
store.
show you like how, I guess, humbling, it is, because you have to, because you have to be like, you're like on set, you're like, whoa, I'm on this big feature, I'm so cool. And then all of a sudden you're like, shoot, now I have to work at this clothing store because I need money, but I think the cool thing is that that's part of the process, right? It just keeps you.
It really is. And no matter how big you get, like nothing lasts forever, And so you may, even if you're, top notch, you may not stay that way. And you can't get too big or, too, egotistical thinking that you can't do certain jobs. Because in the day, we're working for a reason to support ourselves, our families, and sometimes you have to do things that you may not want to do. For me, was working at a clothing store. So I did that. And then I got brought onto a couple commercials. So I did one last week, and I'm still employed. I have another one next week. So
hey, that's great.
Just riding the
And then
no more.
I don't know if I read correctly, but did you, are you going to be doing another big feature? They called you to do another one?
I am. I'll be on Black Panther.
Oh my God. You go, girl.
I'm doing that one.
I feel like the universe is like, you said that, you didn't feel like you got what you needed through USC, but I just feel like, because I think ultimately you knew what you wanted, it's like, I feel like the universe is kind of like, it's like, what is the law of attraction? Like, it's kind of like just coming to you right now. I mean, that's what I guess from talking to you, it seems like.
I mean, I was saying the other day that, I've been very fortunate, and I don't take it for granted because I 100% did not do it alone. It's been a lot of support, people backing me through I almost got evicted a few times my last semester, but, had my grandparents not helped me out, I may not have been able to pursue some of these things because I was so, having to deal with like paying my rent. So I'm so fortunate. And I know that, and I don't take it for granted. So like, yeah, these cool things are happening for me and they're awesome and they're great, but I also recognize that, they don't last forever. So I'm just thankful while it's happening, and I'm just a PA. It's nothing glamorous, but I'm so fortunate that I get to love my job regardless,
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, what do you see, I guess, in kind of summing this all up? Like, where does Terri see herself, like, ultimately? What do you want, like, Terri's empire to look like?
Oh gosh, I'm a simple person. Well, wait, hold on. I'm going to backtrack. I'm going to be a DP.
Yes.
Eventually will be supporting myself as a full-time DP. I will continue my work using media to work with kids. And, I think that would make me happy. I want a DP and I want to work in communities that have been historically oppressed or marginalized. That's really all I want. I want to do my job and I want to give back.
I love it. That's perfect. No, I don't have anything else right now. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add or, but I love that. I think that's perfect.
I might just throw in there, and I'm sure we've talked about it. I'm just gonna like sum it up. It doesn't really matter where you come from. I didn't have the most easy childhood upbringing, but that doesn't have to stop anyone.
Mm-hmm.
There's people out there who really do care, and I think we just have to be open to that.
That's it.
That's it. That's what it is.
There you go. Terri said it all. You know what I mean? Life is good. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. If you would like to know more about Terri and how awesome she is and see her work, you can check her out on Vimeo.com and you can look for her cinematography reel. And that would be under her name, Laterian Officer McIntosh, or I think it's Laterian. So LATERRIAN McIntosh, MCINTOSH. And I hope I said that correctly, Terri. Yes. And again, like I said, check us out on the website, www.risetotriumph.com. Subscribe, rate, show me some love on iTunes and wherever you are coming from. Tweet at us. I really want to foster a community. So, I'm really excited about this whole thing. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback already. So, let's keep going. I have so much in store for you guys. Can't wait for you guys to just see what I'm coming up with. And let's do this together. Have a good one. Bye.